Okay. My name is Dr. Faye, and that's my professional name, by the way. So my full name is Faye Obamenti, but professionally, they call me Dr. Faye. Before my doctoral in 2014, I was Mrs. O, just because that was the short form. So it's an honor again to be with you today with my esteemed colleagues, and we're going to dive into how to develop high potential talent. Now, we know not just in education, whether that's sports, whether that's manufacturing, whether that's technology, whether that's journalism, whether that's government, everyone is looking for high potential talent. No one goes out and hires a zero talent, right? The thing is, the challenge that we have is the demand is high because everyone is wanting the same high potential talent. So the problem that we're going to try to discuss here, and we'll take questions at the end, is how do we increase that supply? Because right now we know the demand is high, but how can we increase the supply of high potential talent? I'm going to let each one of my esteemed colleagues introduce themselves, beginning right here, Ms. Polk, Mr. Hitchcock, Mr. Barron, and Dr. Paddy, and each one introduce themselves, then come back, give you a little introduction about myself, and we'll get started. I'll give you the framework of what we're going to work with, and then we'll get started. Take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisa Polk. My leadership landscape spans several different areas. So I've been in early childhood for 30 years, and so I have done consulting in helping individuals start child care centers from the ground up and recruiting and hiring their staff from directors down to teachers. I also help to manage 3 child care centers that are south of the city of Atlanta. So I hire and recruit the staffing across our buildings. In addition, I am a trainer, so I actually do leadership training across the early childhood industry. And within my nonprofit, I also help recruit and train all of the facilitators and new implementation partners for a grant project that I facilitate.
Hello, my name is Greg Hitchcock. I'm one of the people that have perspectives outside of the education field. My career has been in journalism and media, but I have trained in newsrooms, reporters and editors and other staff that I need to perform the functions of our local media. I've been working all across the country, and one of my beats have been in education. So I've been talking to teachers and professors, students, and superintendents. And I got my start like almost 30 years ago, and still going strong. So that's me.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm David Barron. I'm the Vice President of Enrollment Management at the University of Texas at Tyler. I have 25 plus years in higher education. I stopped counting at 25 for that. But in the last 15 years, I've had the privilege of leading 3 public institutions in major university systems, University of Oklahoma, University of Georgia, University of Texas, to their highest enrollments in institutional history. A lot of that is team building. I took on some opportunities that were what I would call dumpster fires in the industry. Had to turn those around. Train, develop staff, employees to be successful in their careers, and have done so where many of my former employees are now directors or associate vice presidents in admissions and enrollment management as well. So really invested in higher education with a brief stint working with IBM for about 5 years.
Hi, I'm Dr. Janet Patty, and I come to you with a history with of many years in education. As you can tell, as I always say, I've been there for more than a minute. And in those years that I've had such opportunity to teach all grade levels, starting from pre-K to high school and university. My early years were, or my first 25 years, were in K-12 education, or pre-K-12 education. And then in the last 23 years, I worked with aspiring educators, aspiring school leaders in Hunter College at the CUNY City of University of New York to talk to this gentleman. I love to talk about higher ed. I am really excited to be here because my background is really in bringing emotional intelligence into the training of administrators. Teachers are getting it through the movement in social and emotional learning now. How many of you are familiar with social and emotional learning in the schools? Okay, so quite a few hands went up. 10 years ago, no one would have raised their hands. So I'm very proud to say that I was at the beginning of the movement to bring SEL into school. So I live in that world, knowing now that we need to work with adults who are leaders to be able to move everything forward, and to get that best talent, we'll get there.
Thank you. Okay, so a little bit about myself. And by the way, I will say for each one of our panelists, you can find out more information about Ms. Polk. I think she's on page 44. Mr. Hitchcock is on page 41. Mr. Barron, you're on page 37. And Dr. Patty, you're on page 42. And you can learn more about me on page 39. So,
She's definitely an educator.
so, once an educator, always an educator. And one way or the other, we're going to tackle 3 questions. And after each question, we're going to give each one together. We'll give you opportunity to kind of share among yourself at your table, or if you want to get up and talk to someone that you're yet to talk with. How does that look like where you are? So, as you heard, represented on this panel, we have 7 different industries. We have manufacturing, we have journalism, military, K-12 education, higher education, early childhood, care providing, mental wellness. So that's a wide range. So they'll be sharing with you as they answer the questions that we've prepared for you today. Some of their perspective, their expertise, but also we want to give you, because it's engaging, we want to give you the opportunity at your tables. How does that look like for you? Because we, never make assumptions. That's one of the key things. It might look differently for you, and we want you to be able to engage and talk through that. So let's begin. We have 3 sets of questions. We'll take questions at the end, so just hold on to those questions. So question 1, and I'll begin. We'll do the first round of questions, beginning from Ms. Polk. When we do the second round of questions, we'll start from Ms. Patty, being fair, so that everyone has, the same opportunity there. So question 1. What are the strategies that you have found in your profession that is the most effective in identifying and nurturing high potential talents?
So the environment that just a brief demographic, the area that I work in is a very under-resourced area, food desert, failing elementary schools, and so if we think about the teaching pool for early childhood that is in that demographic, it will be a lot different than in a more affluent area. The demographic will look a lot different. So we've had to be very creative in actually attracting our teachers and then keeping them. And so some of the things that we do is, it's kind of like Frank said earlier, you have to design the experience. And the biggest thing is just understanding the backpacks of the teaching pool that are in our area. So if you're in a trauma-filled area, a lot of your teaching pool are going to have that same trauma, very similar in their backpack. So understanding that backpack and what it looks like. And the Frank Porter Graham Institute out of North Carolina states that just the overall turnover rate for early childhood is 30%. But we all know that can be higher in areas. So even in the area that I work in, it's at least 50%. And sometimes it has been as high as 80%, depending on what was going on at the time. So we try to, we stack those skills. So we stack it. So we stack the expertise so that we lead as a team, which is one of the innovative strategies that I'll say for our last question. But we have 4 different leaders. And so each leader has a different skill. And so they're getting touched many more times in that coaching and mentoring than they would with just one person being their mentor or one person being their coach. We also do life skill training for them. We also do provide counseling for them if they need it, paid for by the organization, life coaching, not necessarily counseling, but life coaching. So we try to be very transparent with them, and we use a lot of video for them as well to coach with so that they can actually see what we see. As we're watching the classrooms, then that actually has been the biggest influence for us. But we've also made a change in our policy. So we don't have a probationary period. It is because that tends to be punitive. So we don't have that. Yeah.
Mr. Hitchcock?
Well, I would have to say I spot a high potential talent by the fact that they have to have curiosity in my field, in any field anyway. I mean, you can be in science, you can be in education. You have to have that natural instinct for curiosity. I grew up learning from my grandmother. She taught me a lot of stories around the living room, and I was so questionable about life. Has anybody asked when they were little kids, little girls or boys, have anybody asked or wondered why the sky was blue? Oh my God, yes. or why there were so many butterflies in that field? We collect butterflies. We examine the world. And so also I want to say that, talent doesn't grow in a vacuum. You have to like build a team around that talent, because without that effective team, that talent would wither. I mean, I've seen it in the newsroom. You take one apple that's not as ripe as the others, and that talent will wither. So that talent. When I was growing up in Gloversville, New York, which is a little bit west of Albany, New York, upstate, it was called the foothills of the Adirondacks, and close to that was a village called Lake Placid. I don't know if anybody's heard of Lake Placid. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if anybody's seen that movie Miracle. It's a Disney movie. How many have seen it? Anybody seen that movie? Yeah. So it's a story about this coach that's has all these hockey players that are so high potential, but they can't work together. So Coach Herb Brooks brought that all up the individual talents, and they worked a team over a common goal of beating the Soviet Union in the 1980 Olympics. And so that's what we need to do. We need to build an effective team around our individual talents so they can all grow together.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Barron?
Well, a lot of my experience is dealing with maybe some failed systems or some bad situations at different universities, and pulling those teams together. And it really starts with assessment, right? When you're looking at what you need to achieve, do you have the folks with the capabilities, the abilities to do the things you need to do? But really it all starts in turning that around with a shared vision. So communicating clearly and effectively, what is the vision and mission and purpose of your unit? What are you trying to do? In our case, it was helping students be successful, helping in onboarding, helping them move in that direction. And so changing the culture of the organization and the group that you're working with to a student-focused rather than a process-driven. Here's the hoop the student has to jump through. No, how do you help that student navigate that obstacle for them to be successful? And so in developing the high potential, you're recognizing, assessing those employees to see who has that vision, who shares that vision and wants students to be successful, and developing that talent for those skills that they have to help them be able to partake in and to give into that vision so that they can see their goals accomplished as well. If they want to help students be successful, and you can help facilitate that, providing the opportunity and the resources, then that helps them be fulfilled in their job and will develop more responsibility and talent as you go forward. So really, it's about providing opportunity for those folks that you assess that shares the same common goal and vision of student success in the organization.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
Dr.
couldn't
Patty?
agree more, David, with that. It just sees a lot of potential in all of those strategies. And I would, there's a couple of things I'd like to share. One is at the K-12 level, as an administrator at K-12 level, when we would want to hire new teachers, we would ask them to come in and teach a class. We would observe them. It was part of the part of the preparation that they had to do. And based on how that lesson went, we were able to see what this teacher could handle. That was helpful. It didn't work in all cases. We couldn't get people all the time. But nonetheless, it was a strategy that was helpful. At the university level, we get aspiring administrators. So I would have a class of, say, every semester, 25 sitting teachers who were ready to move into the next realm of leadership. And we struggled in running that program to how do we pick the best and the brightest? How do we know? These people are going to lead schools. That's outrageous because the man or woman at the top is what makes the culture of that school. Yes. And so we did this experiment, and it'll go into the next one, so I won't take long. But we did a little experiment with it and tried to really put people in a role play situation and watch them and grade them. And we used emotional intelligence as our basis for doing that. I don't know if any of you read Dan Goleman's book many years ago, 1995, called Emotional Intelligence. And recently he wrote an updated version of it. And if you haven't read that book, do. It's really wonderful. And so I'll talk more about this as we get to the next question.
Thank you. So here is opportunity for each one to be engaged. So may I indulge in a little music for us, just for like 2 minutes, while our audience, we want you to be able to talk on this. So the question was, what are the strategies you found most effective in identifying and nurturing high potential talent? You heard about providing opportunities for training, curiosity. You heard about opportunities for shared vision. You heard about role playing. And Mr. Hitchcock said something very on target, because that's normally the key problem of high potential leaders. How do they learn how to work together with others? Because that's really the crucial thing of having that high potential talent. So for 2 minutes, we want you to stand up. Go talk to someone you've not talked with. How does that look like for you? Because we don't want to make assumptions at all. No. How does that look like for you? You might be in a different industry whatsoever, but how do you do that? Quickly, just for 2 minutes. We're getting you engaged. We brought our energy.
Yep. Up and at 'em.
They don't have music for us. If I had music, I'd play it.
Yeah, one minute.
Huh? You want to sing?
Freshman and sophomore. So the key is compounding that. One of the things that I'd like to do now. We know the biggest issue they have, and that's much higher rate, is job applicants. So we're trying to get with them and even repeat with them, but to go out and say, hey, we know you need athletes, as far as any college that come to us, so we're going to co-enroll. So you're going to take one class with us each semester, and you'll use normal load with that way you'll have services. We'll have our advisors.
I'm going to ask the 2 questions at the same time.
Okay.
If you want to cover both, choice. If you want to cover one or the other.
How are we with time? Good?
I'll put you time. We have about 13 more minutes.
So with that, when we have our research and advisors, we're not really going to practice any knowledge of any topic, but also a touch point for connections, right? To see the end goal of the thing that we're actually trying to use that retention, right? For those working with them. So it's just, there's a little bit of money
If not,
because they change the employment funding for it's not based on headcount, it's based on outcome. And they also get funded if they're students who go enroll.
Okay. Let's bring our discussions to a close, and we'll continue with our second questions. 1 more minute? Okay, you got it. 1 more minute. just. Yeah. Okay, 1 minute is up. Let's bring our discussions to a close, and thank you for engaging with us on the strategies that you found most effective in identifying and nurturing high potential talent. And you've had a chance to discuss how that looks like for you and share those ideas. Great. So we wanted to have a little music so that, but we made it work, so that's good. So we'll go to our second question. Our second question is a two-part question. So there's an A part, there's a B part, and each one of the panelists, they already know and have the choice to either answer both or answer one or the other. So it's their choice, they have those options. So here is question 2. What roles do mentorship and coaching play in developing high potential talent? And the B part, how can organizations create effective mentoring and coaching programs? We know, according to Dr. John Maxwell, everything rises and falls on leadership. So, Dr. Patty.
Oh, boy, there's so much that we could say. So I'm going to stick to just a couple of ideas. I think that one of the things that comes to me, and we were just chatting about it, is the whole thing about at the college level in the freshman year, we lose, what's the percentage?
Close to 50%.
Yeah, close to 50%. That's a very high number. Now, not everybody's meant to go to college, but if they're leaving for reasons that shouldn't exist, that's another story. And so I think that that's someplace we have to work. We have to come up with better ways of the transition from K-12 education into university for those that want to. Well, we're in a world right now that not every child wants to go to college anymore, and nor do they have to. And I just say that because it's the reality out there. My own daughter has chosen, after one semester in her freshman year, to take time off to work. So we're in a different world. And I think that we need to be systemic about how we do this. And one of the ways that I would add to that, and then I'll pass on to my colleague here, is that the whole idea of teaching emotional intelligence is getting at the areas of our lives where we become successful. We know that IQ is really important, but we also know that IQ is not the end all. And so we are talking about building the skill sets of everyone, both the young people, both the people who are going on to master's degree programs, those that are going on to doctoral programs. We all, every day in our lives, have to deal with conflict, have to deal with difficult conversations, have to deal with not feeling empathy or feeling empathy for someone who's different from me. These are the skills that we don't teach and we don't measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barron?
I think mentoring is very key in developing talent, especially for folks that don't realize they have talent, right? So there are some folks that are hard worker bees that are in your organization, but they're more than that. So recognizing that potential, providing opportunity is the key. And that goes into how you do that at different organizations. One thing at our institution we've done is developed a leadership opportunity. So folks are chosen and they go through this leadership program that doesn't cost anything because we're doing it internally, and it goes through a leadership development program that helps teach the soft skills, teach management skills, employee personnel, as well as blue sky thinking, right, for them to be leaders in the industry as well. Another thing is partnership in the community. One thing that I've done in East Texas is I've partnered with our local school districts, our big ISDs, or independent school districts we call. They have folks that they want to retain. Retaining teachers is a big deal, right? Yes. So they're trying to retain their teachers. So we would develop a leadership program, Team 1 at Tyler ISD, where they are picking students that they're going to fund for their doctor and principalship certification, but picking the best people that want to bring through that round, and they're going to service, and there's contracts, right? They have to have so many years of service for each year they get the scholarship, but they're going to pay for those students. Well, we as an institution are deeply discounting that, right, to help retain our local teachers in development in that area. So that's another piece, is partnership with different community leaders. It could be if you are the high school working with your local college to see if you can develop a program of that nature, but really about keeping those high-skilled employees in your area by providing an opportunity for them to develop and grow and expand their educational opportunities.
Thank you, Mr. Hitchcock.
Well, unlike education, which is highly regulated, you have to have licenses, you have to have professional development, you have to have all kinds of, you have to have your ducks all in a row. In journalism, it's not like that. I think mentors are highly critical in the media field. You could go to a journalism school like Columbia University or Syracuse University out east or other journalism schools, but you don't really have to have that pedigree. I didn't go through journalism school. I got all my training. I went to college. I studied English and political science, and I went directly into journalism. And I had no idea what AP style was. I had no idea how to interview somebody at the time. But with my editors and my other experienced reporters being my mentors, I pushed through that. And it's highly critical in a lot of industries to have mentors. And, I think also, in my opinion, I think there should be maybe more credentialing in journalism, to keep the high ethics, because a lot of people are saying that this country polarized, and we need some more maybe professional credentials, and make sure that we uphold that ethics in the media, especially in national legacy media. So mentoring and coaching is very important in our industry.
Thank you. Ms. Polk?
Just kind of piggybacking off of the team here, all of the partnerships, that is very key in mentoring, but also making sure that the mentor-mentee relationship, there has to be trust there. And it has to be that mentor will bring out those hidden talents that they didn't know that they had, and hopefully will inspire them to go in whatever route their passion is, because we've talked about finding your passion while we've been here. So hopefully that mentor and that coach can help that person find their passion and their mentoring through all of the partnerships and the leadership programs and the emotional intelligence. But that relationship is key in that mentor and the mentee.
Thank you. Wow, what such expertise you've shared with us. We've heard so much. We've heard about emotional, quotient, emotional intelligence, and we've heard about developing your own pipeline within an organization, like you have leadership development program for specifics that you choose, but with a contract and all of that, and also the idea you shared about partnership with school districts. That's a great one there. Mr. Hitchcock mentioned something. You mentioned the national legacy media, that it would be great if you had professional licensing, especially at the national level. And boy, Ms. Polk, trust is a big factor. And no mentoring relationship or coaching relationship will ever work if there's no trust. And so that's very critical. So thank you for sharing those with us. So now we're going to allow you to engage for 2 minutes. And I'm looking at my clock here, so it's 5:06. And so we want you to share with yourselves, what roles do mentorship, coaching play in developing your high potential talent where you are? How does that look like for you? And also, maybe your organization is already doing something similar to what you've heard, or maybe you're looking into it. We want you to be able to talk, together. So it's 5:06, and we'll come back at 5:08. Okay. Again, you can stand up, talk to someone you're yet to talk to from yesterday or today.
It's nice. Very nice.
So if we're on time, we'll be the first session.
Well, remember we have questions session after that, and you don't know how that could go. So yeah.
So we're going on to this third question.
Yeah, we're going for the third one, the unconventional. So start this way. And just hit your points and take questions.
Very, very much.
Given the time, I'm giving them got you.
Well, she's got to do the recognition, and then there's the recognition, then there's the whatever evening reception.
Okay, it's 5:08. Let's bring our discussions to a close, and we will begin the third question. So thank you for engaging with us. So our third question, which is our last question before we open it up for questions from you. What are some unconventional ways that have been utilized to develop high potential talent? So when we look at mentoring, coaching, those are conventional ways, but they're research-proven ways of developing high potential talent in unconventional ways. So our panelists are going to share with us. Okay, Ms. Polk?
So one of the, in the industrial arena, apprenticeships have been used forever. So apprenticeships are now entering into the early childhood realm of helping to develop those teachers. But why do they have to just stay at the early childhood realm? Why couldn't a novice public school teacher be in an apprenticeship program that could help them move to being a distinguished teacher? That gives them the practicality and the practical skills to go along with their education. And that's what most teachers are lacking when they finish, is the practical experience to go with the education.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Hitchcock?
Who said an unexamined life is not worth living? Anybody know? Aristotle. I think that's right. I don't know myself, so I'm going to ask you that as part of my reporting duties. So I think that's true. An unexamined life is not worth living. So, in order to develop a high potential talent through non-traditional ways, you have to think outside the box. You have to bring in people from the outside. Especially in my field, in the newsroom, we get so caught up with deadlines and we're so stressed sometimes because the newsroom is getting smaller and smaller, and especially local journalism, we're losing a lot of our local papers in our communities, and to me that's a shame. So you have to really understand your community, and by doing that, you have to bring outside organizations or people into the newsroom and explain their lives and their careers. So reporters can go out there and really, write the news through not through their own perspectives, but through the truth and what Superman said. I fight for truth, justice, and the American way. So that's what we have to do. So that's one of the unconventional ways we can do that, is bringing outside influencers.
Thank you. Mr. Barron?
One of the unconventional ways that I've done some development is that we would have at one of my institutions a preview day where we would invite thousands of students to come to campus. We had events. It was all structured, organized, much like this conference. It took a lot of behind-the-scenes work to do that. And what we would do is we would rotate that duty. So why it wasn't specifically under someone, as it is in most cases, we would find someone to lead that effort. So all the resources were there, all the people were there, so it wasn't necessarily sink or swim, it was just more of a swim opportunity, right, for those folks that were thrown in it. But these are folks that had never done that type of leadership position. So they gained skills, they got their confidence because they were able to follow the plan, people worked with them, supported them so that they could be successful in providing that opportunity. So I say that's a little unconventional because I haven't done it anywhere else because that's somebody's job, right? But at the other institution, it was a great opportunity for those folks who hadn't led before to have that opportunity and to get some experience doing that.
Thank you. Dr. Patty?
Yeah, so I'm going to take you back to emotional intelligence at the different levels of education. So I really feel strongly that we need to be bringing that work into every level, starting with the munchkins, the little babies, all the way up to doctoral level, absolutely. And one of the ways in which it's unconventional is this. I'll give you an example of what we do in our work. We have a company we call Star Factor Coaching. It's actually named after something that Dan Goleman said, and he said one day, those of you who are really the high producers, the high performers, you're the stars, you're the star performers. And as a result of that, we kind of stole his title, and we've been using that. But what we do is a psychoeducational approach to coaching, and that's why I want to mention it. We do a coaching mentoring blend. We do this with aspiring leaders. We do this with sitting principals, superintendents, et cetera. And we're now thinking of doing this with teachers leaders, because that's a big population. Many teachers now have administrative tasks to do, and they're on their way to becoming leaders as they want to be. It's a natural next step in terms of the progression. So if we can start, and I'll give you one example and then I'll stop. So let's say you have a problem with time management, and you're in your coaching session with your coach. And so you say, God, no matter what I do, I just can't, I'm always late, you know? And so you start working on that, because that's your goal and that you're working through. So what the coach does that's different is she or he is going to help them look at the emotion that's underneath that behavior. So what would be the emotion underneath that kind of a behavior? What is that person struggling with? Well, probably that too, because they're getting in trouble. But think again. Focus. You're getting closer. Anxiety. You're there. That there's so I'm going to tell you now. So it's self-management, right? So we need to work on that, and that's the difference. So when we talk about talent, all talent needs to, no matter whether you're beginning your career or you're at the top of your career, it's important.
Thank you. So we only have 1 minute left, and we did promise to take a questions, but is the golden ticket question. So who has a question for our panelists? Yes, you had your hands up first, so you are the golden ticket. Go ahead.
Oh, Gen Zs. A little bit louder, if you don't mind, please.
Yeah.
We don't have a mic, right? Yeah, come and use it.
You can come and use one of this quickly.
Thanks, David.
So, my question is, at the moment, the highest unemployment rate is among Gen Zs. I run early childhood education center, and hiring retention is always a challenge. We do get a lot of applications from Gen Zs. I think most important thing for children is consistency, right? Educator always being there. And this generation, for them, it's a job. They want to hop from one to another. Like, we were talking about gig economy yesterday. For them, it's a project from one to another, right? And then I think we talk about self for our children, but a lot of the conflict that happens at the workplace are more, among the staff are more, I would just say like, probably more on the social emotional side, not like they're very skillful. They learn things fast. They pick up things fast. They finish their training fast. They understand everything, right? But the challenge is their own individual social emotional maturity, right? For example, for me, when I have a job, for me, I'm dedicated. Like I work for one workplace for 7 years. For them, it's not like that. And this is the biggest challenge. What are your thoughts on this?
So that's a great question. To kind of wrap your thoughts,
Yeah.
what are some strategies or ideas
Right.
we can provide on working with Gen Zs? Because one, there's a discipline factor there. There's inconsistency, hopping from one place, 6 months here, 3 months there. What are some thoughts? Okay, quickly. Can we go down and provide
that's my
one?
daughter.
Yes.
That's my daughter. So you guys gonna tell me? Seriously, I would say it's the digital world. We have to somehow access it in a way that's going, because it's the most motivational. We cannot. My husband's over there too. He's a retired school principal. Well, it's hard. And so I'm going to go for the digital, whether we like it or not. There needs to be more access and more really good access, ways and things that will help educate them as well.
Thank you. Okay.
I think for Gen Z, a sense of belonging is key, right? So they're focused on more, not necessarily earning money, but what is the value that they're bringing to society, right, in their job function. So helping them understand that purpose, that sense of belonging, as well as providing opportunity. My admission folks, there's a lot of burnout, a lot of turnover for those things. One thing we provide, maybe some tuition reimbursement, some things that help keep them longer, a few more years as they get their educational opportunity as well. So that's another way to hook those Gen Zs a little bit longer, at least, for consistency, but probably we'll move on after that.
And they also like to be heard. So maybe taking some of your stronger Gen Z teachers and actually creating a learning circle and let them come together and brainstorm what they would like to see happen, and then they're being heard and feeling valued at the same time.
Thank you. Mr. Hitchcock, do you have one?
Just one quick comment on that. Gen Zs are the ones that grew up in the technology age. So I think, like we just said before, I think mentorship is important. Somebody that's older, that maybe not a Gen Z, that can team up with a Gen Z and learn from each other. And I think that's the way to go we have to come together, in our generations and our time together and just work towards that goal of being productive.
Okay. Well, thank you. I know our time is up, but we are available to talk afterwards, and it's been a great joy for us to engage with you, and we hope you took away at least 3 key things from each one of the questions that we discussed today. So thank you again, and thank you to our panelists.